Today we're diving deep into what really happened between these two incredible souls. And trust me, the truth is more heartbreaking than any movie script. Let me take you back to the beginning. Picture this. Shailene Woodley, our beloved Triss from Divergent, the fierce Amy from Big Little Lies, a woman who's never been afraid to speak her truth, to stand up for what she believes in. She's the kind of person who protests for the environment, who fights for indigenous rights, who wears her heart on her sleeve. And then there's Lucas Bravo, the charming chef Gabriel from Emily in Paris. Those dreamy eyes, that infectious smile. But here's what most people don't know about Lucas. He's so much more than just a pretty face. He's an artist, a dreamer, someone who pours his soul into every role he takes. When these two first crossed paths, it was like watching magic happen. Sources close to them described it as instant chemistry. Not the Hollywood kind, the real kind. The kind where you finish each other's sentences and laugh at inside jokes nobody else understands. They met through mutual friends in the industry. Nothing flashy, nothing staged for the cameras. Just two genuine people finding each other in a world that's often anything but genuine. In the early days, they were practically inseparable. Shailene would fly to Paris between her projects, just to spend a few stolen days with Lucas. And he'd do the same, catching red-eye flights to wherever she was filming, just to wake up next to her for a morning. Friends say they'd never seen Shailene so happy. She's always been private about her relationships, guarded even. But with Lucas, something shifted. She'd light up when his name came up in conversation. She'd get this soft smile that she couldn't hide, even when she tried. Lucas was the same way. His Emily in Paris co-stars noticed the change immediately. He'd be on set, professional as always, but during breaks, he'd be texting someone with this goofy grin on his face. They knew it had to be something special. For months, they managed to keep their relationship mostly out of the spotlight. But love has a way of showing itself, doesn't it? There were subtle signs, a photo here, a comment there. The way Lucas would mention environmental causes in interviews, topics that were clearly close to Shailene's heart. The way Shailene started incorporating more French phrases into her social media posts. They weren't trying to hide their love, but they weren't putting it on display either. They were protecting something precious. But here's where the story gets complicated, and honestly, it's where my heart starts to break for both of them. Because this isn't a story about betrayal or scandal. This is a story about two people who loved each other deeply, but wanted fundamentally different things from life. Shailene has always been someone who marches to her own beat. Success for her isn't about box office numbers or red carpet appearances. It's about making a difference, about using her platform for change. She's the type of person who would rather spend a weekend planting trees than attending a Hollywood party. Lucas, on the other hand, was at a pivotal moment in his career. Emily in Paris had catapulted him to international fame. Opportunities were pouring in from every direction. Big budget films, lucrative brand deals, the chance to become a global superstar. And honestly, who could blame him for wanting to seize those moments? Sources close to the couple tell us that their conversations started shifting. Where they once talked about their dreams together, they began talking about their individual dreams. And slowly, painfully, they realized those dreams were pulling them in different directions. Shailene wanted to step back from the Hollywood machine. She wanted to focus on activism, on projects that mattered to her soul rather than her bank account. She'd talk about maybe taking a year off, traveling to places where she could make a real impact. Lucas, meanwhile, was being courted by major studios. His agents were telling him this was his moment, his time to strike while the iron was hot. He had to choose between love and career, and that's a choice no one should have to make. The breaking point came during what friends describe as a series of heart-wrenching conversations. Picture this. Two people who love each other sitting across from each other, trying to figure out how to make their puzzle pieces fit when they're from completely different sets. Shailene, with tears in her eyes, telling Lucas she didn't want to hold him back from his dreams. Lucas, equally emotional, saying he couldn't ask her to compromise her values for his ambitions. They were both being selfless, which somehow made it even more tragic. The decision to separate wasn't made in anger. It wasn't made in a moment of passion or hurt. It was made with the kind of mature, painful love that recognizes when holding on might actually be hurting the person you care about most. And that's what makes this story so beautifully heartbreaking. In a world full of messy breakups and public drama, Shailene and Lucas chose to love each other enough to let go. Sources say their final conversation lasted hours. They talked about their favorite memories together. The morning Lucas surprised Shailene with her favorite vegan breakfast in Paris. The night Shailene sat with Lucas for hours, helping him rehearse lines for a big audition. The quiet moments that meant everything. They promised to remain friends, to support each other's dreams, even if they couldn't share them together. And from what we've heard, they've kept that promise. Since the split, both have thrown themselves into their respective passions. Shailene has been more active than ever in environmental causes, using her voice to bring attention to issues she cares about. She looks peaceful in recent photos, like someone who's chosen authenticity over compromise. Lucas has been landing incredible roles, building the career he dreamed of. His recent interviews show someone who's grateful for his opportunities, but still carries a certain wistfulness when personal topics come up. Their story reminds us that sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes loving someone means wanting what's best for them, even when what's best for them isn't you. It's a lesson that's as beautiful as it is heartbreaking. Both Shailene and Lucas are incredibly talented, passionate people who deserve happiness. Maybe their paths will cross again someday when they're in different places in their lives. Maybe they'll remain beautiful memories in each other's hearts. Either way, what they shared was real, and sometimes that has to be enough. Love stories don't always end with happily ever after, but that doesn't make them any less meaningful. Sometimes they end with two people choosing to love themselves and each other enough to walk different paths. And maybe, just maybe, that's its own kind of beautiful ending.